You are now in a Paperkirb video, and tonight we are folding Knight Kirby from Kirby's Knightmare by Koku-Draws. For those who don't know her, Koku-Draws is one of my favorite artists for drawing Kirby pictures, and especially has a comic series called Kirby's Knightmare that's super cool to read and watch too for the comic dubbed versions. I recommend checking her amazing stuff out at some point, and I'll even put her links to her YouTube and DeviantArt channel in the description for that. That being said, intros aside, so yeah, this is a pretty tough model to fold, at least the detailing part is. I mean, it's definitely a consistency issue to try to overcome just with trying to fold Knight Kirby here. But I think the results, especially afterwards, in this whole footage of folding Origami Knight Kirby here, ended up being pretty fantastic, I say, overall. And yeah, so this is what we're gonna do, and starting off, we're pretty much gonna start basically dividing the paper into sixths like this. Though this model is gonna be pretty weird when it comes to basically the grid of this, just because we'll eventually, the bottom part of the sheet will basically be divided into basically fourths once you get past the halfway part of the paper. So you'll start to see that right here. And this is kind of, if you're familiar with graphs, or if you're just familiar with origami in general, that's generally going to be your case. So, yeah, I'm a weird folder. Don't judge me on that end. Like so, though, we'll start making these flaps here. These are going to be the flaps that'll connect from Kirby's hands, if they're called hands, to the top part of his cape, pretty much. So it's just on those 3x3 grids here, and I did forget to do some creases I need to do, so I'll be sure to do them very quick, like so. And by the way, this is post-commentary. I'm not commentating while folding at the same time. Believe me, that was really hard to do. That was really hard to do first when I tried to record this, so I'm just gonna keep this separately, pretty much. Okay, now we're moving. So you'll definitely see how a lot of the surrounding sheets are in a 6x6 grid throughout the entire paper, but then except for the bottom part you'll notice is very different in that proportion. So I'm just kind of doing pleats. Just get those folded there, because these are going to be the lines that we'll use to make Kirby's face. I'm not going to refer to the model to Knight Kirby every time. I'm just going to refer to the model as Kirby, just to make it easier for my, I guess, for my dialogue here and there. So you'll see I'll crease the face flaps just by doing this here. It's just an efficient way to be able to fold. Although I'm just gonna unfold it and do it like this here. It ended up being easier that way, just to do so. I'll try to do this without... I'm gonna avoid doing any sort of edit clippings. Maybe minus for one part dealing with the feet. Just an alternative way to do Kirby's feet that I ended up doing after I folded the model here when recording this. I don't know, it'll make sense later on. But anyway, so we're basically gonna add more of these lines. Yeah, some of the commentary will get pretty repetitive, especially early on, because it's just a lot of line folding, but basically the edges, what we have going on here is that we have this line that goes all the way to the very edge, but then we have this other line that only goes halfway to the paper, pretty much. So just try to be sure you're not trying to overfold that part, and you'll be good. Next, I'll create the creases that will eventually be Kirby's feet. So exactly on those parts here. Hopefully you can see the creases just fine. Sometimes the lighting can get make it kind of hard to see. But I think it'll make sense when you look at it. But I'm also gonna add these creases here, and I kind of regret not being able to mark these out with a pencil when folding this. I was just honestly, I was just wanting to get this done, but I think I show this to you eventually, but you'll do this crease. If you look carefully, just this certain crease that connects, that's in this rectangle pretty much. That diagonal part's there. That was the first time I actually did that when I started folding this design for taking footage of this free to show you guys. Yeah. Of course, not everybody's gonna watch this just to try to fold. You also just might watch all of this just for fun, maybe to go to sleep too. So I'll try not to shout or anything. So I'll add a little bit more of grid lines. I keep saying grid a lot, but that's just my style of just a combination of box pleating, well, light box pleating and the bird-based system. This just origami terms I have myself. See, I might have made a little mistake there with the one crease line, but that's okay. I just end up overfolding or underfolding a little bit, but there we go there. So I'll add a little bit more creases. That'll connect to Kirby's hands like so. Yeah, gosh, I really love the Kirby's Knightmare series. I just love seeing the Kirby stuff in a more nocturnal sort of vibe, pretty much. I mean, it basically has that in the comic series and even in Koku's drawings, which I kind of noticed, which I think is super cool. I love Kirby. I've been a Kirby fan for honestly for about a year, but even so, I just adored the characters, especially Kirby himself. Heck, even my first YouTube video was a Origami Kirby video. Yeah, it was how to fold Origami Kirby. That's right. I can't believe it's been that long now. Oh yeah, so these triangle flaps here for the squares, these are going to be more, okay, hopefully I'm not going to accidentally not show, but basically I'm adding these diamond-shaped things here. These are going to help with the flaps for, I think for both the pauldrons and Kirby's hands, again, just around there. You'll do it on fold it on that second crease line for my current view right now. So you'll see that it's right there. Yeah, if you mess up, don't forget you can always keep folding. Just try again. Something cheesy like that. Yeah, so I've really been super into Kirby's Knightmare because of that sort of setting it has. Like I said, that melancholic setting, like so, that I always adore. I mean, the music I listen to has that sort of fashion. If you ever listen to bands like Joy Division, The Cure, newer bands like Radiohead, along with a few other indie artists that I can't really remember. My music kind of goes all over the place of eras, but that doesn't matter. What does matter now is that we'll be creating these triangle flaps. I keep bouncing back and forth, but that's to keep myself entertained. But we'll basically... So this is like a bird-based system thing going on here with these angles that are 22.5 degrees, like so. It's obviously inspired from Satoshi Kamiya. But these are flaps that are gonna help with the connection with Kirby's hands to the cape flaps that we'll get once we start collapsing. I don't know, it looks really... Some crease patterns just look really interesting right off the bat, and I love keeping my origami models interesting to fold because then it makes it a lot of fun to be able to refold them in the future, like so. So you'll see that, yeah, I kind of fold the paper like that, so you get that degree. If you're familiar with the rabbit's ear base, which folds the origami fish, that's basically what I'm doing, but I'm not flattening it all the way, by the way. Just, yeah. That's just something to be careful of when trying to pre-crease, is to not try to overfold or flatten stuff too much. And then you're also adding these extra diagonal creases. It's kind of hard to see, but they are in this right angle triangle. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to see the creases, man. But you'll see... But yeah, you'll see it right there. So at least there's that good of a view there. So yeah, so that gives you kind of a good show of the crease pattern with what we have so far. That might be it for pre-creasing. Pre-creasing, even if it looks kind of weird, it doesn't take that long to be able to fold. But we'll start collapsing the model. And yeah, definitely when it's hard to try to it's always the hardest thing is to try to record how to fold this while trying to... Wait, let me say this again. It's hard to try to keep this all memorized while also doing this on camera, because it's definitely a pressure of not trying to mess up on camera, like so, especially when I don't want to... Because the reason I don't want to try to clip a lot of clips, like skip ahead of certain parts, I just want to be able to show the full thing. I think it's rewarding for everyone to be able to see it truly come alive. It's a lot more realistic instead of just trying to skim through everything. Okay, so a lot of the collapsing is pretty much a lot of just using all the pre-crease lines that we created. Obviously, a portrait that you cannot skip on, for sure. But yeah, you'll see that we use that 22.5 angle, well, bird-based system thing there, if you notice. And then we're basically folding this pleated line right here. We'll do the same thing on the other side, like so. Again, you could look at how this is done. If you're definitely having a hard time trying to fold stuff like this, don't even just practice my models. Well, practice designs that'll gradually get you to this level, of course, and then eventually you can get to this level like I have here. I mean, it definitely took a while. I definitely started to try to do this since junior high. I did a lot of origami in high school. Kind of had some hiatus moments back and forth, which is why I didn't upload origami videos for almost a year. Just because I was trying different things under a busy schedule until I was like, oh, I want to do this again. And I think it's becoming worth it. I'm definitely having some cool ideas now. I especially love being able to fold this model for an actual, basically for someone I actually kind of, at least as a fanboy sort of design, just because, again, I'm just a big fan of Koku's Kirby's Knightmare series, just the whole concept and the art style. And I think when I came up with this design, I think I was... At least in recent times, of course, I was in, because I was in the computer lab where I'm at school, and I was kind of taking a break and trying to see if I could fold Knight Kirby. By the way, there's a lot of box playing techniques here. At least the simple form of it, actually. Well, simple for me, at least. But I kind of came up with the basic crease pattern already set up when I was just folding origami just to take a break from school. Just as a tech college. The feet positions were different but eventually I moved them further to the edge of the paper in the more later folding attempts. That just ended up being a lot better. Especially more flexible. Yeah, a lot of this right here is basically pleating at those parts. And then we are using those lines we make. So folding the feet is pretty interesting here. Because we kind of get those, you kind of get those odd angles sort of creases there. At least odd angles on the paper there. But it'll connect basically from, it'll actually connect from point to point, pretty much. But the main thing is to try to get it to line up. And you'll also see that some of the other flaps, like the hand flaps, begin to form like this as well once it gets to that point. Kind of need to shove my thumb into the center there. Do I listen to music while I commentary? Yeah, at least right now I am. I'm listening to one of my favorite albums right now, so just so it's not completely quiet for me while I'm trying to commentate. It's just turned down super low. Yeah, so even this part was a little bit finicky to try to, well, it was just a matter of trying to align it right was the part that kind of makes it a little bit time consuming. And then for now, with the connection with the pauldrons and the hand flaps, I kind of compromise by just folding it down like this and squishing the top part like so. Just to keep that part flat. I think in the end the pauldrons ended up being a little bit smaller than I would have done. I think at some point I'll refold Knight Kirby at some point in the future, maybe. I might show it as a, I don't know. Like, if I fold the perfect Origami Kirby, I could mail it to Koku-Draws, but I don't know. I mean, that would be sick though, just to do that. I would definitely love to fold more origami models based off of, kind of basically based off of just creators in general, specifically from their profile pictures. I say not just content creators, I should say, but like not just on YouTube, but it could be on other platforms too. I'm not sure, but mostly YouTube, yeah. So I'll definitely try to do stuff like that because it's just super fun to. Oh yeah, I ignored this part. I was trying to sync this part, but I eventually do this part later. But I end up pulling this back to how it normally was before. Or oh no, don't ignore the part. What am I saying? Or wait, I'm trying to remember if I kept it like that. Okay, I think there might have been one point, or oh no, I did. Wait, am I? Sorry, I'll be quiet and just let me fold. Okay, yeah, sorry. Just ignore what I'm saying. All of that there. I think I was thinking of a previous folding attempt, and that wasn't the folded footage as you see here. But this is just to loosen the hands here a little bit. So yeah, so I'm excited to do this sort of stuff. I don't know if I'll really take requests for folding designs, just because I really want to, right now I just really want to fold stuff that I really want to fold, just to kind of stay motivated with releasing content, because there is definitely something for someone when somebody requests, oh, can you fold this model, and I'll totally fold it for them. I mean, I've definitely done that in the past a few times, but it's also kind of, I can't do that every time. But at least, okay, oh, this is the part to, I think this is the part to ignore, because I was trying to wrap this part around here, but it didn't really work out, or at least I didn't like it. Great, so that means I could talk about other stuff than like what I'm mentioning. So yeah, so I'll definitely try to fold origami models based off of, I guess, YouTube content creators. Like, well, I don't know. Well, could I... Well, yeah, Koku-Draws is basically a YouTube content creator. I know she also has Deviant's art as well. So... yeah, like that part ended up being... When I tried to unwrap that part, it ended up... It didn't feel good to do that. Plus, I was getting kind of nervous that it would mess up certain parts on the base that I didn't want. So, yeah. Yeah, so most of the... You'll definitely start to see the model begin to... See the flaps begin to take form. Because you get the long flaps for the cape, his hands, the pauldrons, and of course the flaps for Kirby's face and the feet. I think how I achieved the mask was pretty interesting when I folded this, by the way. Yeah, but there were definitely some tricky parts, especially where yeah, because it's nice to get consistently folding this, because sometimes the way I fold bottles is that sometimes it's pretty easy to fold the bottle, like collapse the base differently every time, and that's usually not a good habit. I think so much of it is I just kind of keep folding the model until it's super polished. On my YouTube short on Knight Kirby, I did show that a little bit. The unfolded crease pattern was one of the folding attempts. One of the folding attempts I had, I decided to unfold it just to get the crease pattern, just so I can remember the parts. And I had the unfolded crease pattern that I had on my YouTube short, I think next to me when I folded this design. Sorry, when I was folding this attempt on camera here, just obviously to make it easier. Okay, so yeah, so we're starting to get into first four being Kirby's face. So you just try to be sure the layers and stuff are okay, at least for, hopefully to that, which thankfully none of the paper didn't tear. Sometimes it's easy to do that. But yeah, folding the eyes, if you watched my Origami Kirby video, not this one, but just simply default Origami Kirby, the ones I had from years ago, it's basically the same, it's the same steps pretty much. Where, yeah, you kind of get the open seeks, you get those spread squashes, and then you have to open up the model a little bit, exactly here like this. You don't need to freak out, you'll be able to quickly unfold it again. But you just push this out, and you create these, basically give Kirby diamond-shaped eyes, yeah. It's okay to master the silence. So I'll kind of do a little bit of a crib near the center here. And then forming Kirby's cheeks is a little bit more simple. You just do these spread squashes here. And then you do these inside reverse folds at the corners here. Yeah, now you're starting to see... yeah, we're basically getting into the details. Well, at least the details... Well, I call them details... the details phase 1. Or once you kind of get all the flaps for the base. This is where we basically begin to get all the little details, all the flaps that actually make up the eyes, the mouth, the hands and stuff. Yeah, really, the detailing of the model is always the most time-consuming, and sometimes either super cool or painful, depending on how I'm feeling that day or night. Especially just trying to get everything right, which, especially with doing on camera. Well, at this point, when I get to this point when recording origami videos, I do start to feel a little bit easier with having the idea where I'm filming while trying to do this. But yeah, you'll see that the mouth does the open seek sort of thing, and then you're having to push these flaps up here. I don't know how to describe this move, but I guess long story short, there's the mouth, yay, and then I try my best to position it correctly. Previous designs, the mouth was a little bit lower, so I was aware when I folded the one other design of Origami Kirby here that I definitely fold the mouth a lot higher this time. I just hide some of the top part of the mouth flaps with the flaps for the cheek layers like this. What else is there to talk about while we're at a little bit of a downtime? I don't know. I do have a Kirby plushie on my lap, by the way, right now. Okay, yeah, so the top part of the mask is pretty interesting. I think previous times trying to fold this was always just a really wonky part. I mean, even on camera, I was trying to do a few things. Although I did this sort of move just to kind of make it a little bit easier of a quick placeholder. But getting the pointing part of the mask was definitely pretty interesting. And I think the hardest part of the whole design was getting the mask right for Origami Kirby here. I know I folded Origami Knight before, but his was easier. I can only blame for Koku-Draws for making the mask for Kirby a little bit a little bit more trippy to try to figure out how to fold. Well, I don't like blaming on people, but well, this is for fun blaming, but anyways, but thankfully I ended up, well, at least what I should confidently say, I could at least work around it, at least figure out, oh, this is what I need to do. So at least the top part of the mask is just doing this sort of pleating thing, just way more box pleating shenanigans like this. So why do I fold with standard paper? So I fold with printer paper because I can fold a lot of models and it's cheaper. Hey, with me at the same time, I play my guitar through a bass amp just to afford stuff. So, that's generally my world for the most part. I don't know in the future if I will. I mean, I think in the future I will eventually have to try to vest into proper origami paper. I think for now a lot of this is to just kind of do this for fun. I mean, I never really pay attention to paper types super often. I've just never been too snobbed with that. Oh yeah, definitely one of my favorite details of the mask was when I got the pointy tips at the corners. I think that was super cool getting that. I mean, you can start to see it sort of form like that at first there. But yeah, you'll definitely see, yeah, so the top part of Kirby's mask is starting to take form. And then I had to fold these other layers to the sides. I think previous folding attempts of this, it was way more complex and basically dirty, trying to get the mask details. But thankfully, I ended up with just doing these more simple folds. It's just kind of where all you're basically doing is just folding a flap across, to put it simply. Well, in my concept, yeah. Yeah, thankfully that center pointing part, I was aware to try to make it long enough so it's an obvious pointing triangle. So cool, so officially you're seeing Kirby having a mask. Let's see, I had to do, there was a certain line flap that's for the mask detail that didn't really show up on that one side that I had to fix. So that was kind of what was going on there. Let's see, before I could fold this one edge, I noticed that I had to unloose. I think this is the part where, or okay, no, not yet. My commentary here is gonna have mistakes, but that's okay. I think what's more important, because I think the commentary sure is fun to do, but I think to me the most important part is definitely getting the full footage of folding Knight Kirby here. Okay, yeah, so in order to, so I need to unlock these flaps here, and I think this is kind of a new sort of thing I did right off camera, so I was a little bit unsure at first. Thankfully this ended up working out. You unlock that part. So that way that arm flap is more loosened. Yeah, if I fold Knight Kirby again, which I'm not gonna revisit, because I don't know, I get kind of mixed with whether or not I'm actually satisfied with Knight Kirby for now, because it's definitely like, oh, the pauldrons could be bigger, or the cape could be a little bit folded differently, or the pauldrons to the cape could be different, but I don't know. But it's okay for this sort of result because regardless, the base and the whole sequence is going to be the same. I think if you're definitely good enough, you can have your own modified spins that I would have not thought of. Yeah, so you'll see that the arms are able to fold out like this. Compared to my my default Origami Kirby, the arms are actually folded a little bit lower compared to that one. I was definitely trying to notice that with the folded, with that Knight Kirby model on the top left there. I was just trying to be sure. Yeah, I had that there as reference. I also had that Origami Knight Kirby there just to be sure, just to be aware of my position on camera. So he was kind of there as a marker. By the way, I'm able to see the entire footage of me folding while I'm also folding this at the same time on OBS. So I'm able to be aware with my positioning on my TV screen. Yeah, I mean, I have a generous setup, although the camera setup is a little bit scuffed. I was able to get it to work at least, but I don't know if I want to show it though. It's kind of super weird just with how I had to overhang the my face cam. Okay, so anyway, so after sidetracking a little bit here, so I'll get these side parts of Kirby's mask folded in like this. Now that we have those parts unfolded, I have to is I reverse fold that part. I noticed that part was getting in the way. I don't know if I should keep those outside reverse folded. I mean, I don't know. Designs could always go in any direction they want at this point once you get into the details. Like, I'll even watch when I designed the thumbnail for the Origami Kirby video here, I was even thinking that's actually what I was noticing, like, oh, the pauldrons are kind of smaller or whatever, which, I don't know, I guess really the pauldrons are a good size. I mean, at the end of the day, origami models aren't supposed to be copy-paste exactly, but it's supposed to get really close. It's just, you know, it's just translating an art's language. Like, I'm translating a comic drawing, well, not a comic drawing, basically translating a drawing from Koku into origami paper like this, pretty much the best I can. And I could definitely do better, no doubt, but I also don't want to, it's also important not to spend a whole lot of time, just because then I am, number one, kind of wasting time. I mean, it should be kind of more for fun, like, oh yeah, let me try folding this again. Because otherwise, I'm definitely pressured to try to keep up with being able to release YouTube content continually. Given that I also have 3 channels now, holy crap, normally you would do that if you actually have a big following, but I have 3 YouTube channels just so I could kind of stay fresh with the type of stuff I want to make. Because I was definitely having that issue before where I was kind of migrating certain subjects in one channel, which I didn't really like. So therefore I went with 3 channels, and just to have my video essays and on video game stuff that are pretty subdued, at least for now, and music stuff, of course. I make my own music, by the way, but I'm not gonna go further to full-on advertisement because we're doing origami. The origami people care about this even more, so. Yeah, so now I'm getting the bottom part of Kirby's mask here. The mask design could be a little bit different compared to the actual drawing, if you notice. But again, this is kind of a case where this sort of way of folding the mask ends up looking a lot better for the model compared to the drawing. If that makes sense. But regardless, I mean, I'm happy with how the mask ended up turning out. When I made the thumbnail, I actually did note when I was applying like all the layer color changes, I actually noticed that it actually did look pretty good. Because I really liked how the visor, you could clearly see Kirby's face, like it's not getting buried in it. The mask is also not too small. Like, it's a good length there. I think I was trying to widen this part at first, but then I think I did this a little bit later at some point. Because eventually I realized, oh, I should fold the feet first. You'll kind of see that in a sec, but I do something like this a little regardless though, but probably not at this timing though. I could be wrong right now, but well, yeah, because like I think around at that point I'm kind of like, ah, wait, I need to do the feet. Yeah, so I think it's important to mention at this part, so I guess I think I mentioned this earlier in the video if I remember. I basically changed how I folded the feeds after I recorded finishing this, because I actually rewatched the comic dub for Starlight, and I noticed how Koku likes to make the feeds or the characters a little bit bigger than when I was actually folding them here. I'll show you how to do that pretty soon, actually. I'll probably but I can show you how I did it like this, just in case if you prefer this way of folding. But the way I end up doing it a little bit later on is a more 3D form. But this is the first way you could do it, just kind of do these, I don't know the techniques I'm using. I usually don't pay attention. is kind of dabbling around with trying to get the bottom part of the body right. Again, it's stressful to try to get this right on camera. I don't think I think I ended up not doing that certain move because I realized, oh, you could just kind of fold this right underneath and it ends up being a lot better anyways. And I was amazed. I especially was really proud of how the design ended up looking a lot more polished compared to the one I showcased on my YouTube short of this. Yeah, so we're getting the bottom part of the body like this, along with some well, I'm trying to along with I think a little opaque around the mask part. I can't remember, or no, not really, but I kind of do some sort of full inwards like that. I need to be sure those little flaps there are kind of inside reverse folded like this. I think this is inside reverse folding. I don't know. Some origami techniques are obvious to me when I see them than others when I'm folding them, because otherwise I'm kind of like, what am I doing? I think says everyone who can't, well, doesn't have the patience to do this. Yeah, drawing origami. Origami, I think, is so much harder than trying to draw stuff, I think. Because with drawing, at least you have, like, you know, because you could draw the same picture as kind of like a general outline and stuff. Origami is much harder just because you have to memorize the crease pattern, you have to memorize how to collapse the base, and little snippets here and there. It's a lot more to specifically remember of how to fold compared to how you would draw stuff. I mean, I definitely draw stuff myself too. Not as good as Koku-Draws, of course, but I mean, the way I draw is still unique regardless, but I still claim her as a better drawer than me. But I don't have the patience to try to draw yet. I think the mask shape kind of looks really cool that way, by the way, where you have those sides pointing out. But alas, I need to fold those in, though. Just so you get a more round body. Because Kirby's round. Well, his mask is round in particular, is what I should mention. Okay, so kind of dabbling a little bit with the mask, well, the top part of the mask, I think. I think I decided to just show the entire folding process, even trying to work out the details. I mean, I did say that I ended up folding the feet a little bit differently, as I showed you previously, as a quick me from the future showed you. Yeah, I mean, regardless, the feet can still look good this way. I just, like I said, I did the feet differently just because I wanted the feet designs to look more closely to the design that Koku had, where the feet are bigger instead of being a little bit skinny like this. But even this way still looks pretty good, though. Which I think yeah, because you could definitely fold the feet in any way you want, pretty much. It's just that the way I did after recording, I think I liked better. I don't know, it's so easy to go back and forth with what I prefer, just because they have their advantages and disadvantages. Okay, so right here, this is a neat thing to add. I'll add a little bit of an extra layer at the side here for being able to add a little bit of Kirby's body popping up on the side a little bit. I had to dabble with this a little bit, but basically I just kind of do a lot of inside reverse foldings. Isn't that like my most common folding technique, the inside reverse fold? And I had to crimp the hand down a little bit. do some little narrowings here and there. So at this point, this is just basically detailing the hands. I think the hands are a pretty good length because at least they're not super short. I always hated when I try to compare my origami design when I think it's done to the actual drawing, because I'm like, oh, these are too small, these are too, excuse me, these are too small, these are too big, and oh, I don't like the position. I mean, the positionings I had for this design ended up being super good, like 9 out of, well, I don't want to be too overly confident, but I think they were pretty good overall. I just think, again, there's just so much different things I could change up, little minor things I could change up in the details. That could be a lot better. I mean, I don't know how much, if most people would care. About the little details, which is why I'm definitely totally fine with just, I don't have to be super perfect at trying to fold this. But I don't know, I think it's sometimes, it is pretty nice just to kind of be able to re-review this and just kind of be, especially right now, just think, oh, I should do this next time. But I don't know, I think I'm gonna take a short break from trying to fold Origami Knight Kirby though, just so I can move on to other stuff. Because otherwise the final results end up being super good in the end still. I think it's impossible to get a perfect design. It's impossible to create perfect art because you're always having different ideas. There's different ways things could go too. That's why you just gotta be so... That's why you just gotta really take... That's the fun advantage of, oh, like, this is good enough, I gotta stop. It's gonna give me a heart attack or keep me up all night thinking I don't have this done, whatever. Yeah, so folding the pauldrons is a little bit tricky here, because there's a lot of those opening flaps here, but once you kind of start to flatten it a little bit, it definitely looks a bit good. I do have the, by the way, I do have the origami, the finished result of the Origami Kirby that I folded on footage here, next to my mic, by the way, just to kind of look at and hold that if I want to. The thumbnail was pretty cool just because I basically took a picture of my Origami Kirby and then I overlaid all the shades and colors on GIMP. Just similar to my profile picture. That was the first time I tried doing that. I think it looked super cool as a thumbnail. It's way more unique and, yeah, just standing out more. Yeah, I think, I don't know how to make the cape better. I mean, I gotta stop saying stuff like that. I think I'm always gonna keep saying stuff like that whenever I do these post commentaries, unless, I don't know. I wish I could fully be satisfied with the design, but I don't know, it's just for the best. But hey, at least I can put this on YouTube. That makes me super happy, especially for Koku-Draws. I appreciate all of my peers, and this is my gift, pretty much. Especially to Koku. The whole Kirby's Knightmare series has definitely been kind of a huge blessing to have during my time at Technic College and eventually university and at work, just because That's because I was definitely going through sometimes. I won't go too deep into it because it's not the video to do that. But basically, the Kirby's Knightmare series did things that made me cheer up easily, gave me more faith and whatever in things. I think Kirby's personality by far is just amazing in the Knightmare series. Just because of both his happy-go-lucky attitude, yet he also seems just realistic with how in his speech, which makes it that I'm kind of used to the idea of like, oh yeah, Kirby could, like, if you do it right, Kirby could talk, for sure. I mean, especially once he's at an older age. But I think it's fun how Kirby's Knightmare executes that. And I'm definitely excited for what more to come. I'm especially excited for I think it was the dawn of a new era. I'm excited to kind of see more about Kirby's origins with Omega. Basically his dad. I read the comics. I think it's really funny how it's kind of a father-son event where both Kirby and Omega splat on their face. I said the same thing of like, oh, glad that nobody saw that. Falling on my face like an idiot. Like, you gotta pass the tradition in the line with Omega and Kirby. So it's super fun that way. Yeah, so I think the pauldrons end up... Because I think the pauldrons were a good size here, but they end up being smaller at some point when I started doing extra details. So yeah, so clearly, like, so I definitely have all the right flat portions of what I want, but yeah, again, different ways. But I'm gonna stop saying that because that's gonna get repetitive. And I noticed that just now, thank you very much. Yeah, so getting past those now, we're basically coming to the home stretch of forming all the flaps and then doing a lot of just all of the formations. Again, yeah, big shout out to Koku Drawings. I basically became a Kirby fan because of her stuff. I strongly have to praise that, honestly. Oh yeah, so forming the horns here, the little horn details I think are my favorite touch on the mask. Is that, why not a flat mask when you could kind of do that? It kind of, I think sometimes it looks like he either has bat ears or cat ears. Batman Kirby, you could totally, I think if you rearrange his design, you could do a Batman Kirby with a Batman ability. Okay, so now, yeah, this back part here. So this is kind of getting the Kirby's top head behind the mask like this, along with the cloak design that connects to his cape. And yeah, just kind of rounding the corners a little bit. His forehead at first looked pretty big. Well, Kirby doesn't have the biggest brain. In exchange, he has the biggest heart, I think. Yeah, so right here I'll kind of fold these layers a little bit. Yeah, I'm sorry about the back and forth dialogue, but I think it's just... I'm fun with... It's fun to kind of go back and forth, as long as you're seeing this all come into play, which I gotta say, I'm really proud with how the footage ended up turning out. I know sometimes maybe the footage for folding kind of looks a little bit blurred, just with how... I really wanted to fold from my new face cam, compared to using my iPhone here. Oh, yeah, I'm just switching to a different album mid-recording. I was listening to one of my favorite bands, Smashing Pumpkins. I was listening to their debut album, and then I'm listening to another one of their favorite albums of mine at that point. I was definitely doing that while I was folding. That's why I really like to be able to do post commentary. Just because I really like to be able to listen to my music while I fold. It was when I tried to fold and do commentary at the same time. I mean, number one, it kind of makes it a lot harder to focus on trying to fold the model. Just kind of a little paranoia with trying to say. Number two, I don't get to listen to my music. But yeah, so this is where I think the pauldrons kind of shorten up a little bit. I wonder how different I could make the cape a little bit. Like, I don't know if I needed to make the cloak part that big. I don't think I needed to make Kirby's head big. I think if I was a lot more efficient with the layerings, I think I could have made a lot of the flaps even bigger and longer. I don't know. I really shouldn't stress. The results are still phenomenal, though. At least you guys will say that. Okay, yeah, originally I was trying to fold these parts backwards in like this, which I don't know if I should have done, but I think maybe that's what I should have done for the final design, because I think it helped with I think if I fold it like that instead, you'll see that later on I eventually changed to just having those on the very edge of the paper. Yeah, so like I said, we're basically... So basically this is the full... See, up till this point, I don't have any more suggestions. It's just a matter of, this is kind of all up to you with how you do the design. This is kind of how I did it for... This is basically what I did. This is basically the detailed choices I made when I recorded this. So this is all up to you. I really want to see I think so. It's really cool. I think it was a fun dream to have Koku notice my origami model, but I think it'll be a really sick dream come true when I see someone else be able to fold the... I really want to be able to see somebody be able to fold one of my designs and show it to me. That's kind of hard just because I don't have things like I don't have Discord or any social media platforms other than YouTube. Just because I kind of generally wanted to avoid stuff like Instagram or TikTok or those sort of things, just so I'm not being distracted by other things. Oh yeah, so from what I mentioned earlier, I ended up switching to the edge flaps, and yeah, a lot of this could have gone either way. Again, I might do one more fold of this, but I don't know. Again, I might be beating myself up. I always beat myself up with my art. I love it, but it's also... But it's also kind of like, oh, I'm not satisfied. I gotta keep working on this more. And that's also with me when I make my own music too, where sometimes listening to songs, I'm like, the snare is too quiet, there's way too much noise for the guitar, or it sounds way too heavy, or things like that. Again, that's for the music people, not for the origami people. For the origami people, it's kind of what I mentioned earlier. But at this point, yeah, I keep being I think most of this video is just me beating up a dead horse, saying, I could do so much better than this. Why? I'm a terrible folder. I really am. I'm just not good enough. But, yeah, whatever. Whatever, pops. Yeah, so I'm just kind of forming the beats like this. We gotta form the bat ears on Kirby's mask. We'll kind of start crimping the this a little bit. I do some pretty nice 3D details to help make it stick out a little bit more. Yeah, I guess the model is good enough when it's easy to recognize is the thing. Because it gets on my nerves when I try to show somebody one of my origami models, and a lot of times they're kind of like, what is that? I mean, it may be obvious with the sense where they don't know the character or things like that, but things where, you know, let's just say I pulled the origami dog, but then somehow everybody can't notice that. That's when I'm kind of like, come on. Thankfully, though, most people, especially, you know, just mostly relatives, were able to recognize, like, oh, that's like Kirby in like some knight armor, pretty much. I mean, some thought of him as Meta Knight, of course, but that's because they don't know Kirby's Knightmare. I mean, surprisingly, my father was able to notice Kirby as with some knight armor. Yeah, again, he doesn't know Meta Knight at all. So yeah, so like right here I do like, I guess the pauldrons end up looking a lot smaller because I crimped them like this. I think I should have done them like a little bit in a different way. Most of it is gonna be ranting the final part, but I really want to commentate the whole part though, even if it's just me trying to dabble on this. Like, it's gonna make this so real to watch with what I actually, just the whole mindset of it all when trying to hold this. Like, you can see it all with your own eyes, which I think is definitely one of the cooler things about putting the origami videos on YouTube, is because a lot of times when I show my origami models, people are like, how did you do that? And especially when I do origami shorts, like, I mean, especially, I think there was one comment on my Origami Kirby short of this design where they're like, oh, how did you, like, yo, how did you do that? That's so sick. Or it might have not been that, something similar. So it's always super cool to be able to actually be able to show the full process of how the model came to be like this. And my post commentary could add a little bit of detail of how I designed the model and things like that. Gosh. And especially with my previous videos, I went back and forth with doing post commentary when folding, and no commentary at all. I don't know. I think it kind of depended on how I felt at that time. The reason I was back and forth on it with the previous videos was just because I was just trying to figure out, just when I was trying to come back and to getting the ball rolling. But at this point, because I remembered that I think I did post commentary on my Origami Meta Knight, which was another really hard design like this. Gosh, yeah, the Origami Meta Knight is probably one of my favorite designs. I think that one turned out super well. I think I was originally thinking of using the same base as Origami Meta Knight for Kirby here, but number one, I wouldn't have all the flaps needed for Kirby's face, because Meta Knight's mask is a lot easier to fold compared to, or at least to figure out compared to Knight's Kirby. Number two, I usually don't like reusing the same base for different designs, which it's okay, but let's see. Obviously an hour into recording. Ah, yeah, look at that. This is where the design really began to pop off. Like, holy crap, this looks amazing. Again, I end up doing the feet differently at some point that I showed you earlier. Okay, I think I should start closing up my commentary here. So, yeah, so I guess we're about to wrap up here. Yeah, so anyways, thanks for watching, guys. By the way, the whole Origami Kirby thing, this has been a really fun project regardless, just kind of in between everything. Again, huge shout out to Koku-Draws. I love her stuff. I love her stuff. I think she's a super cool person. Definitely go check out her stuff, as I mentioned in the description earlier. I really liked how the model turned out regardless. I know I was kind of criticizing a little bit for certain parts, but of course I really liked how it ended up turning out. I think it's easy to recognize this as Knight Kirby from Kirby's Knightmare, which is definitely the entire goal. And I will see you guys next time. So, later.